Hey, you guys. My name is Steve Hoffey. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is a podcast highlight, clips from a full episode. On this specific one, kind of the work picture, then versus now, between two different generations. This is the Standing Still Podcast. 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 But what I'm saying is, so how, I mean, you always think hindsight's 20/20, but from where you guys were going in and all your buddies, and not even totally just into the trades of like, well, you know, we've kind of already talked about how doing something else besides college right away wasn't so frowned upon back then. But also, I think it was a different attitude of like, oh, I'm going to go start a career. It was totally different back then versus now. You know what I mean? Now it's, if you don't have everything worked out by 25 or everything, you know what I mean? There's kind of a regimented timeline of, you know, you really got to have your career worked out, and this is what you're going to choose for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? So how can you guys think of anything that was drastically different back then versus now?
Backing up, education is, regardless if you go to college or you go through an apprenticeship program or you work in the field, you got to have education, period. It doesn't matter what it is, which way you go.
Right.
Some guys have to do it learning in the field. Some guys can go to school and do it. You know, I, for one, couldn't do it. I tried it. It wasn't my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Carl said the same thing. I don't think one's better than the other. It's just you as a person got to figure out which path you want to take, you know?
Right.
And what I think is different now that I'm seeing with the younger guys, well, like, I can't speak for Carl, but it was just the way you were brought up. You know, you knew that you had a plan. You just went boom, 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 and then followed it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I see with the younger guys, you know, they want to go out and do things and try all these different things and
Start a podcast.
Start a podcast.
Yeah.
But experience things.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
They want to experience things first, and then they think, okay, now I've experienced everything. Now I want to go and settle down, and I'm going to drop right into this. And the problem they're having is you can't just drop right into it. You know,
Right.
I do interviews for apprentices every year, and I get guys that are like, well, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing, and I look down and they're 37.
Right.
I'm like, well, where the hell you been for 12, 15 years, you know?
Right.
But that's the change I noticed in people. You know, you want to live for the experience now, and then we'll deal with the other stuff later. Whereas I think, you know, when Carl and I, it was the other way around. You were taught you provide for your family, get that all dialed in, and then you go from there. So
Right.
I think that's a twist.
I graduated midterm my senior year of high school.
Because you're so smart, right?
I graduated with honors, which I know you're going to find that hard to
That was
believe.
a great answer, Carl.
I
I did too. They were throwing honors around a lot.
I mean, let's say I was the smartest guy in class, but I figured it out. But, you know, like I turned out as a journeyman at 23 years old.
Right.
You know, and I had a company truck at 23 years old, and I mean, I busted my ass. But you got to understand that, like, even like now, what does a journeyman fire sprinkler guy make right now to go to school for 5 years?
I'd have to look, but you're in the 40s somewhere.
Yeah, and same thing, even with like sheet metal workers and all those guys. And it's a full package. You
Right.
get medical, dental, vision, everything, retirement.
Right.
It's amazing. It's about a $60, $70 package on paper.
Right.
By the time you're paying for all that stuff, they don't pay any health care. It's all covered through the union.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to come out of school at 18, 19, get straight into apprenticeship, 5 years later, you're making $40-some an hour.
Right.
With every Saturday you work, you get complete overtime.
Right.
Time and a half on Saturdays. Sundays is all double time.
Right.
Whether you work one day during the week or not.
Right.
So it's big money.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go to school. You're going to spend a lot of money in school. You're going to come out. You're going to have a lot of school debt. It's going to take you years to catch up.
Right.
I mean, now everybody wants that degree.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends how hard you want to work for a living.
Right.
You know what I mean?
My thoughts have always been go to college if you have that plan, Bill. It's like, I'm going to get this degree to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that go to college because you're supposed to go to college. That's the kind of tone I've got. Like I said, I got a lot of dirty looks and a lot of like, oh, you're not going to school. And to be honest with you, 99% of those parents and family friends, now that I'm I'll be a journeyman pretty soon and everything like that. Their kids are 50 grand in the hole, and they're making $12 an hour. You know what I mean? And they can't find a job in that field. And so a lot of them don't even like that job.
But yeah, and
I'm patting myself on the back, Bill.
Yeah, you
let
are.
me pat it, okay?
Yeah, you're gonna break your arm, by the way. But but that worked for you. That doesn't mean that worked for somebody else.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of people that are smart people, but they aren't mechanically inclined. You know, and there's a lot of mechanically inclined people that are smart, but they just can't do the book work. So
right.
You got to find your niche. I mean, there's no set avenue to go. You know, it's whatever you want to call it, hard knocks or learning curve or pick one. You know,
right.
A lot of people, they don't know how to sell themselves either. So, I mean, they could be the smartest guy in the room, and they're doing most of the work for somebody else who's taking all the credit. You know what I mean? You'll see that where you'll see where people are being abused and used for, you know, the higher ups get all the right answers from everybody that's doing all the works, and then they throw that was their idea. You know, it's like you look at teachers. You know, they go to school for all those years, and they do amazing work for all these kids, and they're very underpaid.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And by the time they pay their school debt and all that other stuff, it's just a bum deal.
Yeah. It's
You know?
definitely fueled by passion, I would say.
Right. And like I say, but, you know, if most teachers are, you know, especially females, you know, obviously don't want to go out and work in the construction field.
Right.
You know, and it's getting more common to get project managers and things like that, females, you know, because the construction world, there's a lot of money out there.
Totally.
And, you know, but it's got to be your passion, and it's not for everybody.
Right.
You know, it's dirty. It's not clean all the time. There's a lot of fuck, shit, piss. I mean, you hear a lot of stuff you probably shouldn't hear. I mean,
right.
Yeah, I know.
most construction workers don't have the.
Shit, just even driving to work is stressful now. You know, you got to get up 3 hours earlier to get there.
Yep. You're up at the crack of dawn, and then it's not like you're going to go to bed at 7:30 to get your 8 hours. You still end up staying up till 9:30, 10, 11. You know what I mean? I think I've gotten 5 hours of sleep this whole week because I've been studying for this journeyman test that I'm doing. Patting myself on the back, Bill. That's going to be the name of this podcast. No, I'm just kidding. But so let me ask you.
Somebody's going to pat it.